Let's talk about DeepSeek R1. This is the new tool, this is the new thing in the town, and it has been all over the news on Twitter. If you have been paying attention, this is the newest model, DeepSeek R1, which is the interesting thing. It's not a new company, it has been there for a while, but this R1 model, which was released just this week, has been making a lot of noise. So what this is, will it take your job, how this is different from past models so far, let's take a look at in this video. So fundamentally, if you look at models like this, which is like a normal chat GPT model, if you ask it like, how do I create a basic HTML page, you will see that it just starts answering, right? So it just starts answering me, it just starts writing text, and it's just outputting whatever it is. There is a concept known as chain of thought. If I ask the same question with DeepThink enabled, you will see that when I send this prompt, DeepSeek's model starts with a thinking process, right? It's doing something in this thinking, which is like, we'll figure that out what that is exactly, but it starts to think first before it answers, right? Now the model itself is very slow because of so much load and so much traffic that it is receiving that I'm not even getting an output over here. But if you would wait for a while and if this thinking process starts, you will see that it starts in a gray format, right? And it's very rough, very raw thoughts. Compare this output, like, very formal, created, structured output over here with this one. It has not even started outputting, right? It's one of the core differentiators, and obviously like the underlying implementation is different. How they have optimized, how the inference works is different. But the basic idea is that what they are doing is that this model thought for 27 seconds on this basic question, right? The duration is not important. Obviously, the duration will increase or decrease based on the load or the capacity which is available. The important thing is that it thought before it answered, which is what we call as a chain of thought over here. So you see, if we look into this, what is it actually thinking? We can actually analyze. This is what its chain of thought is, right? So you see that it tries to gather everything before it starts speaking, right? So it says that, okay, user wants to create a basic HTML page. Let me think how I will do it. First, I should start by outlining essential structure, so on and so forth, right? So it figures out that I have to start with doc type HTML, start with doc type, then the HTML, and so on. So, I mean, it might seem very stupid to you over here that I just asked a basic question, why are you thinking? That's also one of the things that it'll sort of like, sometimes it'll just overthink over questions which probably don't need. Like this answer is perfectly fine compared to this one. I mean, if you look at this, it's pretty much exactly the same answer, right? You can see like the HTML code itself matches. It's just that GPT actually did give a viewport tag. It did not, which in this case, by the way, this is a better answer because, you should probably have a viewport tag. But this chain of thought is, at least what I feel, makes a lot of difference. And this is what the selling point of a model like O1 also is on OpenAI. I won't go into a lot of details of our own code base, which we use to host and power the whole Fermion platform. Fermion, by the way, is the SaaS platform which I'm working on, which is for people to create their own platforms. But we, in the last 2 days itself, have solved 2 problems with DeepSeek in our own code base, which were not at least solvable before by LLMs, or it were not very high priority problems, so they were inconveniences in our code base. One was related to the state management in our front-end code using Zustand. The second was related to the backend API infrastructure that we have developed in-house, right? It's a custom TypeScript Zord parsed API structure which we have developed in backend, and we synchronize the types between front-end and backend. There were a couple of bugs here and there in the whole implementation. I fixed the front-end bug, somebody else in my team fixed the backend bug, and both of us did that using DeepSeek R1. It thought a lot. It had to take a few iterations in the backend bug at least, but it was able to fix that problem, which both of us were not able to fix in the last few months. Now, granted, of course, like if we would spend enough time, we just leave everything behind and all the issues which are pending, all the tasks and everything, we just leave that and we just focus on those couple of issues, we would fix it. It would take probably a few hours of time, of maybe like a couple of days maximum. If it's like a deep problem, we would fix it. But a platform like this shows something, that now it is possible to almost get an employee level system on your team which is able to code with other employees. This is a very important thing. The AI cannot just start coding on its own. I still feel like we have not reached a point where, a platform like Devin or OpenHands. OpenHands is also something I've been trying lately. It's a very interesting tool. Do check it out. But it's not the future, at least not right now, until we have LLM models that can absorb like 1 billion tokens in context. So until we have that, this is the best we have got, where humans And especially, I believe expert humans have to work with these LLMs to offload subset of problems which they may or may not know how to solve, but at least they know how to verify the work. That is also very important, that you should be able to verify that the output is correct or not. This is why I feel that non-technical people still won't be able to use LLMs for very technical projects, right? Of course, you can build basic apps, ping pong, games, side projects, that's completely fine. But anything serious, any software that you are paying for today, and it's like not a very simple software, it's probably still not replaceable by an LLM because it involves a lot of nuances and intricacies. That is something which a LLM like DeepSeek R1 can really help existing teams like ours. For example, we are a very small team. It's not like we have a lot of people, but I am almost considering this DeepSeek LLM as a third employee, a fourth employee, a fourth technical person in our team, which is a great achievement, right? If you have 5 of them and I'm able to control a team of very smart, but they don't know what to do, when to do, but they can do everything when I just give them the task properly, even if I don't know how to do that task. That is a great achievement of humanity in general, I would say. But it's also a huge threat to you who are basic developers, who are people who have just gotten comfortable watching a 3-hour YouTube video, watching a 5-hour course, watching just a basic tutorial, and now you have probably landed an internship or a job somehow, and now you are comfortable. It should be a red signal, it should be a siren going off in your back of your head that you have to get better. Like I said, this LLM is a multiplier. So if you have 0 developers, it could be 100 times a multiplier and it'll still result in 0 output. But if you are 1 or team of 2, 3, 4 good developers, this can really multiply the whole output by 2 times, 3 times, because now every single person on your team has a personal intern or a personal mid to senior level engineer. We have solved problems that we were not able to solve for whatever, lack of time or whatever. Because see, let's be honest, if it's an easy problem, if we know like how to solve it, we can just solve it in 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's not like an implementation thing that it'll take you a lot of time to write code. It's not that. It's a logical thing. You have to sit down and you have to work through the code. You have to figure out what's going wrong. These are the 2 kinds of problems which we solved in the last 2 days with R1. And I think, if I hire somebody and the person who could technically solve that has to be really good with Zod, with TypeScript, with Node.js, almost like a mid to senior level developer. So yes, I would say that this is a replacement of a mid to senior level developer intern, right? It's a weird thing, right? We are living in weird times because it's not a developer. It cannot replace like a full human being, full person. But at the same time, if you break down the problem properly, if you break down what you want to do, it just can, it just can fix things which you would seem like, how did it do that? This was like a couple of moments we had in the last few days. So I would say that the only thing I see happening in the very near future is teams size reducing, not going to 0, not going to 1, not going to 5. If you are already a 500 team, there would still be teams, but I would say that the feature which is developed by 10 people at a given time, it can easily be dropped to just a single person or a couple of people, because 1 or 2 of those people will have 10 of these models running parallelly, maybe working on 10 different problems at a given time. It's completely possible. One of them is doing a code review of the whole code base. One of them is solving like a real linear or a Jira ticket. One of them is like actually thinking about what other solutions we could use. It's going to happen. It's going to 100% happen. I'm definitely convinced after using DeepSeek R1. This is all over the GPT-4 moment for me, because I remember like when GPT-4 was released in March a couple of years back, this was very interesting for me because, for the first time I was able to get an idea, okay, I'm putting something and LLM is actually making sense. It's actually outputting something nice, something which is like usable. This seems like that moment, but after you have been, saturated by LLM responses and the generic things which usually happen. So yeah, my message to you, if you are an aspiring developer, if you're somebody who's still looking for jobs, still looking for internship, now is the time to, not just be somebody whose sole focus is to get a job or get an internship and you're just rapidly applying here and there, but it's also the time to get really better, really good at programming in general, because you must be an operator for these tools. They are really good, but they cannot replace you unless you yourself are a tool, right? So you must be an operator. That means that you have to be really good at the craft that you are doing. You cannot operate these tools. You cannot verify if they are doing the right things or not until and unless you yourself are not good enough. That's all for this video. Hopefully you would take away something good from this. Do let me know in the comments below what do you think about DeepSeek R1. That's all for this one. I will see you in the next video really soon.